All right, I hope everyone's having a good weekend. Let me start the video off just by looking at the SPY. This is one of those days, this is how I described it in chat. The NASDAQ was up like 400, the Dow was up 850-ish, right? And we hit new all-time highs for the SPY, for the market basically, right? This is one of those days where when your neighbors and friends know you're a day trader, they look at the news and they see the Dow and NASDAQ up huge and they think, oh, I bet they killed it today. And to me, it was just an average day. Investors did well, right? 401ks did great today, or great on Friday. But as far as, unless you were sitting, let me go to 5-minute candles, unless you were sitting on an upside surprise on Jackson Hole, which I don't think the typical market is a big rip when Powell speaks, right? But if you were sitting on that, you might have had a few individual stocks ready to go and might have gotten in, right on that initial pop on Powell. If you didn't, 5-10 minutes later, everything's way up and everything feels like chasing, right? So then you had to wait for individual stocks. And so for me, it was just an average day, but I'm glad it's behind us now. And now we can just trade on individual stocks, getting news and all that again, right? So keep that in mind. If you didn't kill it on Friday, I didn't either. I just had an average day. But still looking forward to next week, right? The market's sitting at all-time highs. We're going to get plenty of gap plays in the morning, news plays, and all that. So I'm looking forward to the week, but I just can't say, hey, Friday was amazing. So with that said, let me go in. Let me bring this up. Quick reminder. I'm going to show you some charts that have good potential of giving us great trades during the next market session. None of this is investment advice and all that stuff, right? So we'll start with XFOR. Had this on watch over this area here, and we did get some nice calls in it in chat and a really clean breakout. Certainly could continue, right? So it goes right back on for continuation. Watch SOUN. After this gap up on earnings and then this sell-off, we did finally put in a green day. Of course, pretty much everything was green on Friday, but maybe that was a bottom, so I'm going to keep that on long watch for Monday. IREN hit new recent highs. There you can kind of see the breakout attempt. It had a big day and then got to break this high, but then it was extended on the short term. So, but the daily chart looks really good. AIRO, kind of a sleeper pick. The drone play had the big pop on opening day, and then it put in a lower high. I would argue probably a lower high here, and now it finally broke this lower high and going sideways and pushing up. So, kind of a sleeper pick. A little bit of extra volume on Friday too. Do want to watch it. BMNR, anything Ethereum related should be on watch. I think Ethereum, ETHA, I think is what I use, new all-time highs. And there's a lot of stocks in that space, so I'm just going to put BMNR, nice volume on Friday, as one of the possibilities. You know what? Let me throw ETHZ on watch too. Let me type it right first. ETHZ. This is the old ATNF. And went from 1746 down to a nasty, and then it was starting to roll over here, and then you get the gap down. Could have been a gap down bounce play setup, but it does have support here, so it could be up from here, especially with Ethereum doing what it's doing. So it's an ugly chart, but has a gap to fill and all that, and it's in the right space. So let's keep our eyes on that one too. What's next? Zoom ZM had a big breakout on earnings on Friday, certainly extended, but we're going to keep that on watch all week. LASE also extended, had the gap up here, sold off, and now is back up near recent highs. But I can't ignore the fact that it's just run from almost 3 to almost 5 to over 5, and then the next catalyst, potential catalyst, price-wise would be over 534. But it's come a long way in the last 2 sessions, so I'd actually like to see that rest for a couple days. BSLK has had some crazy spikes over the last couple weeks, and it's really gotten quiet. So I'm just going to keep it on watch. It's a crazy trader, so keep that in mind. GXAI, there's really no chart set up here, but we do focus on in-play stocks. And so you had the gap up inside day and then a big rip. I don't love the gap down and going out near the lows on a strong day, but maybe one more red day, and I would definitely love that as a potential bounce play. ASST, another sleeper pick. It's just coiled. I like to focus on stocks getting recent high relative volume, and you can argue this one hasn't, right? But when you go to 5-minute candles, it did get this pretty good volume spike right here near the end of the day. This is, I'll call it a mystery pop, right? And then you go back to the daily and say, well, it's actually holding up fairly well. Maybe there's something there. So definitely call that a sleeper pick. AREC, most recent high $1.95, and it's up here to $1.78. Had a strong day, strong volume. My problem with this, as in a lot of them, is it's already up 3 days in a row, so I'm not in love with the chart. ONDS actually has been crazy strong ever since it was about $2 here. It started getting volume, put in a high, and pulled back, and now it's at new recent highs. Maybe new all-time highs, I'm not sure. But certainly a strong play. Believe that's in the drone space. And then that's it. I'm not in love with this list, but I'm in love with the market conditions that we're at all-time highs, and we can start fresh on Monday watching some gappers and looking for news plays. So that's certainly in our favor, and I will see you guys in the pre-market on Monday as we work together to build a list of gappers to add to this list. Have a great rest of your weekend.